Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Stephanie Adams, and I will be the host for this TLC session, Priming Your Canvas, Optimizing the Ashford University Classroom Experience, presented by Cole McFarren. We are excited that you have joined us today to hear Cole's presentation. Now, please welcome Cole McFarren.
And thank you all for joining us today. I'm really excited to be a part of TLC as a presenter this year. And I'm really excited to talk to all of you about Canvas today. Just a little bit of background about me. My name is Cole McFarren, obviously, and I am a manager for Ashford University's Center for Excellence in Teaching and Learning. I had the opportunity and privilege to lead a lot of the faculty communication and training efforts that took place while we were transitioning over to Canvas. And now that we're over there, I'm also still leading some of the efforts to really get, the best faculty perspective and kind of user experience, type of, questions that we end up coming up with. So, just like any of you that are familiar with art or artists or have even painted a wall in your living room are aware of the role that primer plays. Primer is usually used as kind of a base coat to basically efficiently use either a canvas or a wall. With a wall, say you have a red wall and you want to paint it blue, you're going to have to prime it before you actually put the other paint on, or you're just going to have a purple wall. Long story short, it means basically making the most out of the tools that we have and being the most efficient that we possibly can while doing it. So in my role as CETL manager, I get to see a lot of trends as far as, things that faculty have issues with, things that work really well in Canvas. And then in addition, I also have the privilege of being an associate faculty member, and I also teach for our entry point courses here at Ashford. So I get a few different, kind of aspects of the classroom, which is why I really feel excited to, kind of talk to all of you about this today. We are at a point in Canvas to where, I think we've got the hang of it. We've been in here for about 6 months. You've all taught probably close to 2 to 3, 4, maybe even 5, 6 courses in Canvas. We're pretty good at it. But I think that there are definitely some opportunities to where we can be more efficient. And it kind of goes back to the old adage of working smarter, not harder, and making the most of what we have at our disposal. So hopefully some of these might be entry level, kind of intro type things that you're already doing. But my hope is that all of you walk away with at least 1 or maybe 2 little tips that'll make a difference in your teaching experience. So let's go ahead and dive right in. Now, like I had mentioned, CETL has done some effort, not only to obviously transition our faculty over to the new LMS, but in addition, once we got over there, we wanted to kind of take a temperature check almost to really see, A, how we did as a CETL, and then B, really how satisfied our faculty with Canvas at this point. And some of the data that we got back was, really kind of reinforced a lot of the ideas and thoughts that we had. So it was launched in September. We had over 745 responses when we first analyzed the data at the beginning of October. And then we were actually able to garner a lot of very specific faculty feedback as to like what things were very specific that they thought could be improved through, number 1, this survey. And then we also had another format, the LMS suggestion form, where we were able to gather a lot of faculty feedback on what they thought about Canvas. And then we were actually able to take all of that tangible information to our phase 2 planning session for Canvas as well. So some of the main things that we kind of saw with this, and this is just kind of some high level, kind of overview, is overall, faculty are pretty happy with Canvas. They were very happy with the actual transition. The overall satisfaction with Canvas right now is over a 4, which is pretty good, really. Some of the other things that really make sense, it's a very reliable system. We really like that. Another interesting point is that it not only meets our current needs, but we're even more optimistic that it's going to meet our future needs. You all really voice that that we're working on things. We keep making things better, and we're going to keep doing that. Some of the pain points that we saw here probably are not surprises to you, and they weren't necessarily surprises to us. The discussion boards are very different in Canvas than they were in eCollege. Some of the other things like Waypoint that kind of came across were a little bit more lukewarm on, but we were very able, and here's another interesting point. We kind of asked you all point blank, what areas do you really feel have the most opportunity for Canvas? And again, you were loud and clear here with talking about the discussions and navigability of those. It's a huge part of our teaching time. I mean, we spend a lot of time in there, and understandably so. eCollege really gave us one of the faculty members, I think, included in their feedback, they said, you know, I miss the bird's eye view of a discussion forum. So hopefully what I'm going to walk through today is, you know, kind of guided by some of this information. We're going to start with discussion forums and really talk about some of that navigability. But I'm really going to kind of try to also use this information to help drive our conversation today as to where some of those pain points are. So let's dive right into the discussion forums. Like I had mentioned, one of the biggest things that we got, you know, and it was right away, we started receiving emails right away. They said, hey, faculty members said, we love Canvas, but discussion forums just not doing it for me yet. Being able to see students' pictures is great. That's a huge win, but it's just not as easily navigable, you know, as it was in e-college. So we took that feedback to heart right away, and we actually, in early October, released some enhancements to the gradebook to kind of give back some of that more detailed user experience to help really distinguish between initial responses and replies. So you can see on the screenshot there some of the communication we had sent out. There's easier differentiation between the initial post because of those tabs that you can see, those gray tabs there. There are even some lines added, and then even just little explanations added, like the click to collapse and expand. It was a little, you know, less than intuitive when we first got in there to figure out that you had to click at the top of the box to get all that information out there. So we made some improvements right away. In addition to those, there really are some things that we can do with all the tools that we have available to us right now to make the discussion forums, in my opinion, a lot better. So one of the main ones that I've really suggested to people that, you know, really have a hard time with going in and seeing, you know, hey, did my students respond to me? You know, I can't keep track of who I'm responding to or where or when. So one of the first things that I suggest that faculty members do is they actually have to go into Canvas and switch one of the settings, and we're going to call this general topic is manually marking posts as read. So in discussion forums, Canvas defaults to actually, when you hover over a post, it marks it as read, whether you read it or not, which is kind of a pain. So what this does is if you go into the discussion section of the classroom, you can see on that screenshot the steps you'd have to take to get to it. Go into the discussion section of the classroom, and then the settings up there by where 2 is, and then 3, you want to make sure that box is checked to where it says manually mark posts as read. That means you'll have to actually click the little circle next to a discussion post in order to mark it as a read post, basically. So every time that I get into my discussion forums for my class, in order to take it full advantage of that manually marked post as read process, is I collapse all of my posts right away. Canvas defaults to everything expanded, which is great because you can see everything, but at the same time, to get a nice bird's eye view, I always just collapse all of them right up. And then you're able to see in that screenshot there, so all of the red posts actually are white circles, and then the purple ones are ones that have not been read yet. So basically what I like to do is I go through, and then every student that I respond to, I mark their initial post as being read. So then I can go into the course and see at a glance, oh, I've already responded to 6 students this week. I only need so many more, etc. One thing to kind of keep in mind while you're doing this is while you have, you know, say for example, you just responded to a student's post, you'll probably want to collapse that and then mark it as read, because otherwise what you're going to have to do is like every little post that is underneath that, you'll have to mark them all as read, when otherwise you can just collapse it, mark the one as read, and then move on. So that's just one little trick to keep in mind while using that process to make sure that it's working accurately. And then in addition, I think a lot of us already do this strategy, but I like to keep a spreadsheet on the side just so I can say like, oh, if I didn't respond to somebody last week, I can make sure that I get to them this week. But that's just another little supplemental tool to keep track, you know, quickly and easily of how many students you've responded to. Now this, in my mind, is one of the simplest things that you can do, and also one of like the highest impact things that you can do in your classroom. And it is one that I admittedly found by accident. So I will totally bring it to the table otherwise though. So one of the things that really threw us for a loop is, again, that discussion, you know, perspective. I mean, so on the left, you see a screenshot of basically what the default is in Canvas. I mean, you can see like one post at a time, you know, it's kind of big, a little bit clunky. With just zooming your browser out, I mean, even 10%, I usually actually default mine at 90%, and I'm able to see almost twice as many posts within that same view as when I have the zoom at 100%. So, and an easy way that I like to do it, at least, is by using the control button and then the mouse wheel. Actually, you can like zoom in and out really quickly and easily by that. or you can do Control plus or minus, or go in and manually do it in your browser. All browsers have Zoom type settings. So this is just one quick and easy way that you can really get a better look at some of those discussion boards and just make it a little more friendly on the eye, a little more efficient use of screen space, things like that. And it also depends on what your eyesight situation is, how big your monitor is, some other kind of variables like that. But really just find the Zoom that works best for you. If it is 100, great, you can leave it. But otherwise, I would suggest that you take a look at it just to see if something appeals a little more to your eye. Another tiny tweak that you can make to the classroom to get just a little bit more room for those discussion boards is you can actually, if you go up to the very, very top left corner of the classroom, there's a little navigation bar, and you can actually minimize that to where you can see on the right side, the discussion goes actually all the way to the left side of the screen. So again, just another way that you can add just a little bit more efficiency of the screen space. One of the things that we got, in our feedback from faculty is the fact that, there's so much white space. I'm scrolling for days and days and days. And we totally get that. If you're not going to collapse your discussion boards or use some of these Zoom tools, yeah, you're going to have to click around and scroll a lot to get to what you need for sure. But this is just another one that we can use just our space a little bit more in a smart way. Another one I like to use when I'm going through, and specifically when I'm looking to see what students have responded to me and I need to follow up with again. So the search function in the classroom is great. It is a good way, for example, to check and see, and you can see where that's located at the one there. It's at the top of the discussion forums. You can put your name or a student's name in there and it's going to pull up all of your posts and you'll be able to see them just fine, which is good for counting and things like that. But at the same time, if you're looking to see if a student's responded to you, you really aren't able to see that much. So to really see your whole post in context, I like to use another browser tool, and it's the search function. Another shortcut is Control F for that. And that actually shows your message in the context of the whole conversation. So you'll be able to see if a student responded to you and where it fits within the conversation itself. Speed grader. This is one of our favorite things, as a new feature for sure. It was ranked very high on our surveys. But again, it's not a perfect system. When we go in there for the first time, we can see, with the way we use our rubrics and everything, it's just not quite set up exactly the way that it is probably most efficient. So a lot of people don't necessarily realize that we can actually move that divider bar. So where that little 1 is on that left screenshot, you can drag and drop that over to the left to kind of even that out. And then again, I like to use that zoom feature to zoom out just a little bit to be able to see a little bit more of the post, a little bit more of the rubric all in one screenshot. Just another way that you can kind of use your browser to your advantage for those situations. This one is another one that I, again, admittedly found by accident, but I actually started using it just last week and I kind of really like it. So there are shortcuts that are built within SpeedGrader itself. And there's actually a key up there, so you don't have to remember them right now, but there's a little keyboard key up at the top left corner, and that'll show you some of the keyboard shortcuts. So for example, when I get done with a student and I finally fill in their grade and I hit save and everything's done, to go to the next student, I can just hit the J button instead of going all the way up to the right to that arrow. And then, for example, when you finish the rubric, you can push the G button to put it right in the area where you put the grade. So I would advise you to just take a look at them, see if any of them work for you, if you like it. And they're actually really interesting. You don't even have to push Control plus the letter or anything like that. It just automatically goes with just the letter. So another thing you can kind of check out to see if you like it. If not, you don't have to use it. One of the comments that we got on some of the surveys that we had gotten back, people really had kind of suggested, and I think it's a great idea, is for Canvas to have a word count tool. So when we're going in and we're grading assignments, and we can usually eyeball pretty well and make sure when somebody meets the word count, but if we're really sticklers about it and we really want to know, we can save ourselves from having to copy and paste from here over to a Word document with an actual word count add-in. So almost every browser that I've ever worked with has, you can basically go to Google and just search word count add-in for enter your browser. And you can probably find a tool to do it. So you can basically select all of the text there, right click, and it'll do a word count right for you without having to go in and out of the system a couple times. The grade section. The grade book is definitely different, than eCollege. I mean, it works in essentially the same way in many, many ways, but there are some differences between the two systems. One of them, which is actually a great asset in my mind, is the fact that we have this message students who option for our gradebook now in Canvas. So what this essentially does is it allows you to send an inbox message to students who have met a specific criteria. Say they haven't submitted an assignment yet, or say they received above a certain grade or below a certain grade. What we can do is we can actually check the drop down in the gradebook for that particular assignment, and then we can choose to send one quick message to those students within just a few clicks, really. One thing to note is that unfortunately this option does not work with waypoint assignments. There's just a little bit of an issue with waypoint kind of syncing with the gradebook to confirm the students have submitted. So that's one instance where it doesn't work, but I found this really, really handy, especially when you're starting out a class, for example. You can go in on Wednesday if somebody hasn't submitted their introduction and say, hey, there's still time to get in. Or even for the first couple of weeks of discussion boards, be really hands-on and feel free to send those reminders super quick and easily. One of my favorite new things about the Canvas gradebook is the process of entering final grades. So we all remember back to the old days of e-college, we had to export a spreadsheet and then kind of calculate them and then like try to finagle our two screens together to try to enter them. Entering final grades in Canvas is 20 times easier than it was in e-college. We're actually able to, so you can see in the screenshots here, where that one is the total column, and we actually have an option right under there to where we can move it all the way over to the front to where it's by the students' names. Now, the second step is actually the most time-consuming part of the whole process, but you can actually drag and drop any of the grade fields basically anywhere you want. So what you want to do is take that final grade column, the purple one with the exclamation mark, drag and drop it all the way over to the left. It'll take 15 seconds. It's about the most time-consuming part. But then, as you can see in that bottom screen, you actually have the total number right next to the final grade and right next to the student name. And then what you can do is literally you click into that field, and then you can 10 key and you can enter the number that's right next to it, push enter, and it goes right down to the next student. So it's really, really just super quick and easy. Once you've done it once, you'll never go back to doing it whatever way you were doing it before. Notifications is an option that we have within Canvas that we knew we were going to get right away, and I think we've used it a little bit, and some have probably used it more than others, but I think that we really have an opportunity to make sure that we're using it in the smartest way possible. So essentially, what I would personally suggest is that the one thing that we definitely want to make sure that we have on, if nothing else, is a submission comment section. So the submission comment notification actually shows you when a student has responded to your feedback in the gradebook. They can basically go in and leave you a quick, they say, hey, I don't understand why I got this grade. Can you elaborate a little bit or maybe give some more details? They can do that right in the gradebook. And unless you have this notification on, there's a good chance that you're missing out on some student communication about grades. So if nothing else, I would absolutely suggest turning this one on. Another one that's kind of handy is the conversation section, which essentially directs us to the inbox message section of Canvas. One of the really cool things about having our inbox messages sent directly with a notification is the fact that we can actually reply directly. So say you have it sent to your email. You can actually reply directly to that email and it'll send the message right into Canvas, right into the student's inbox for them to view it. So that's really kind of a cool one. Discussions is one you have to be really, really careful with because you can get your inbox flooded really, really quickly if you don't turn it on quite right. And you can actually go to the discussion section of the classroom for a quicker and easier way to see what you are specifically subscribed to. So for example, I like to make sure, if I'm going to be out of my class for a day or so, I try to turn my Ask Your Instructor notification on so that I'll get a notification for just that section. Otherwise, if you subscribe to other discussion sections, you're just going to get flooded and then your submission comments and others will kind of get lost in the mix. So those are kind of my 2 cents on the notifications. Use what works for you, go in and tweak it, just see what works best. And just make sure you're using them to the full advantage. What else? Not everything fits neatly into a category. So I think I have a few more tips and kind of just thoughts moving forward that I kind of wanted to share regarding our Canvas classroom experience. So like I had said, we're all at the point to where we have probably 3, 4, 5, however many classes in Canvas, which is great. But on the dashboard, where we log in directly to our classroom, first off, we kind of ran out of colors quickly. It's like, okay, I have a red one, a blue one, a green one, and now I have 10 of them and I'm out of colors. So what I would suggest doing, and this is probably the third thing I'm mentioning that I found by mistake, but either way, it works just fine, is if you want to remove some, so say you want to take away some of your older classes or even that sandbox that you're probably still enrolled in. If you go to the courses section on the left side of your course, and then you go to all courses, you can actually see on that second screenshot where all those stars are. And basically you just want to star the courses that you want to keep on your dashboard and then unstar the ones that you don't want there. So it'll actually clean that up beautifully. The next time you go in there, there'll be just a couple classes, which is really kind of nice. Open link in new tab. So again, you know, one of the other pieces of feedback that we got from faculty and students alike is just the general navigability of the classroom itself. You know, we were really used to having just on the left side of the classroom, you could get anywhere in eCollege that you needed to be. Canvas is definitely different. And one of the very first things that we implemented was some of that general navigation shortcut that you see on the homepage of most courses now. You can we basically duplicated what we had for eCollege on those home pages. But there are still, you know, just a couple navigability issues within Canvas. You know, for example, you go to your inbox to answer a student's question, and then it takes you out of your classroom. Then you have to go back into the classroom to get to what they were talking about. And then you have to get back to your inbox, and then you lost the message that you drafted. So really, one of the cool things that I found out that we can do with Canvas is when you find a situation like that, where you're just really clicking back and forth, and you're like, man, there's gotta be a better way. There might be. So what I would suggest is specifically like for inboxes is I would right click on the inbox and then actually just open it up in a new tab. And then that way, instead of having to go 4 clicks to get back, you can just go from tab to tab, you know, so you can see what you're referencing, or you can be in the gradebook at the same time as you're messaging a student. Or for example, I do this a lot in SpeedGrader. So I'll have, you know, the SpeedGrader up and then I'll forget, you know, every single part of the discussion prompt. You can open it right there, or you can click it and leave it open in another tab so you can just go back and forth and really quickly reference it when you need to. So next time you feel like you're kind of banging your head against a wall with some of these navigability issues, I would encourage you to at least think about like, oh, maybe I could open that in a new tab and see what it does. Download the app. That sounds like a pretty straightforward, sounds like something a lot of us probably did on the first day. If you're like me, you downloaded it on the first day and then you may not have been back in there until now. But you know what I would really suggest is the fact that the app is a great supplement to the classroom. You know, I'm not going to go in and type all of my responses to students for the week in an app that just doesn't really lend itself to what it's probably intended for, to be honest. But what I do like to use it for is for the Ask Your Instructor forum. You know, if I'm taking a whole day off of my course, you know, I like to use that app to just make sure, oh, did I get any inbox messages? You know, I can look at those super quick in the app, or if I'm on the go, or if I'm trying to, you know, if I've read 10 BuzzFeed articles already and I'm like, okay, I can't avoid it anymore, I can just get right in from my phone and really just get it in the classroom super easily. So it's a great supplement. It shouldn't be your teaching go-to, but it can absolutely be a supplement to on the go. Or if you're teaching a new course, you need to look at some of the videos and get more familiar with the content. That's a great way to do it. You can watch some of the videos on the go, stuff like that. Speaking of videos, you know, this is kind of a thing that, again, it was like out of the box, we've had this, but how many else have actually gone in and posted videos of the classroom? I would be really interested to actually see that. Myself, I'm just starting, you know, to be honest, I took a class to kind of get used to the platform, and now I'm like, okay, now we can really start to get into some of these bells and whistles. So my advice would be that, you know what, if you haven't done it yet, just get in and do it. It's really a lot easier than we would have ever been able to do it with eCollege. I mean, the fact that we have a video, you know, insertion button right in our rich content editors basically means like within a discussion forum or an announcement, I can post a video within just a couple clicks. I mean, I literally click where that one is. It opens a window and it says, hey, do you want to allow Canvas to access your webcam? You say yes, and then it's on and you can record. I mean, it's as simple as that. So, and really, you know, the sky's the limit. We're really just beginning to get our feet into the water as to like, where does a good video go? You know, for example, some people like to do a weekend wrap-up announcement video to their whole class. Other instructors I've seen have actually gone in and responded to all of their students' introductions with a video. We can also do it for discussion forum feedback. I mean, there's just so many possibilities. And to be honest, right now, we're not really dictating where exactly you do it, but we're just encouraging you to really, really go in there. You know, it was really funny. After my first course doing it, I was like, man, it takes some time. I don't even know if people are watching these or if it's worth it, but I had a student that commented in their end of course survey and they were like, you know, to just be able to see my instructor's face and know they're a real person, it was great. So even just that little piece was really enough to kind of keep me going on the video train. And they don't have to be complicated. You know, you don't have to do a 10-minute lecture, nor would I probably recommend that. You know, just a couple quick minutes to say, hey, I'm here if you have questions, or a congratulations at the end of the class. You know, what a great way to wrap up the class, and with a personalized, you know, video from your instructor. So we're just, you know, like I said, we're dipping our toes in the water. The CETL will definitely be leading some, you know, training opportunities, and we'll have some resources available in the coming months. So just get in there and start doing it, and get excited about it would be my advice regarding video. One of the other things I wanted to just kind of point out super quick is the fact that, you know, if you ever run into a hurdle, obviously I work with the Center for Excellence in Teaching and Learning, so I'm always going to be promoting our faculty support and development associates. I mean, they're definitely your go-to people. You know, when you have in-depth questions that really need a close eye, they're your best bet. Now, if you're in your classroom, like a lot of us are, you know, in kind of untraditional hours, you know, you're up at midnight trying to figure something out, we have a lot of stuff that's built, that we actually built right into the help tab of the course. So for example, Ask CETL, a 24/7 FAQ repository that's like totally on demand is available right there. If you haven't checked out Ask CETL yet, it is definitely worth going to. You know, say for example, I need to know where a grade change form is. You know, little stuff like that, that, you know, your FSDA could just like whip you something back and be like, oh, there it is in 2 seconds. You can probably find it for yourself and in real time in Ask CETL. So next time you have something like that come up, I would definitely encourage you to check that out under the help tab. The Help Now videos. So that's a really good one for our students specifically. You know, we have some resources that we set up, especially specifically when we transitioned over to Canvas, that are geared specifically towards students. So, you know, you get a message from a student that says, hey, I can't figure out how to submit my assignment, or I can't figure out this discussion forum thing. There are videos that are there and available for students, in addition to the fact that actually their advisors are able to use Zoom. So if you have a student who's really, really struggling with something like in the Canvas interface, you can't quite get it, advisors are actually able to use Zoom and screen share with their students and show them some of the ins and outs of their classroom. So there's 2 really great resources for your students. And then additionally, the third thing that we plopped into the help tab for the classroom is the quiz reset request form. We had additionally gone through a more manual process, but we were able to just link that right up in there to where you can submit those requests quick within the classroom. So I have thrown a lot at you. But you know, one of the great things about this Canvas conversation, and like we had, you know, kind of reflected in the survey, is like, we know that it's a blank canvas in many ways. You know, we really are having the opportunity, not only, you know, number one, here at Ashford, we're able to really continue to work on our classrooms and our presence in Canvas and everything like that. But number two, Canvas also is continually improving. So one of the cool things is, you know, you can pass your feedback on to us, or there's a whole Canvas community out there. If you have an idea that you want to submit and vote on, there's a whole Canvas community out there for exactly those things. And if you have something specific about this presentation, I am definitely available for specific questions. Otherwise, your FSDA, like I said, or CETL@ashford.edu is another good place to go if you can't remember who your FSDA is off the top of your head. And just one quick thing too, I would like to note that this information will be available after today. We will have recordings of all the sessions available within a pretty quick turnaround time, knock on wood, we're hoping, after the TLC is all resolved and wrapped up. So if you missed something, there will be a recording available. Otherwise, just keep on fighting the good fight. And if you, I hope that you found at least one thing to where you can feel like, you know, you're at least taking one step to, you know, work a little smarter instead of, and well, we want to work smarter and harder, don't we? We want to do both. So we can definitely work smarter though with some of these things that I've talked about today. So keep the flow coming back. When you have ideas, please bring them to your FSDA or CETL, and we will just keep on spreading the good word. So thanks everyone for your time today. We really appreciate it.